Sorry, it's just I'm just fucking hungover, and I have a lot of stuff that I need to do. I got a lot of people like asking me for stuff like videos and tapes, and I got one of my bosses from my new job trying to ask me for paperwork right now. And then I lost my fucking tripod, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean,
I was feeling like before you got here, I was feeling really good. I was excited. I was like, I had an idea, and then shit just happened, and now I'm just like, fuck. I'm not even in this right now.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, that everybody goes through. You have a plan, everything is all set up. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do this way. And then unfortunately, the unexpected happens,
Uh huh.
and, those things start eroding away. And essentially, that's kind of why I'm here. um, my life over the last couple of years kind of eroded away, and now I'm kind of like at a base point. And there's nothing more terrifying than being confined and putting yourself in shackles to try to maintain and live what you believe is a normal life in society, only to have that all erode away, and then be confronted with the fact that now, because of all of that eroding away, you have total freedom. And it's like, well, what am I going to do with that? And here I am.
Wait, so have you not had total freedom for a certain amount of time as of recent?
Well, I'll say it like this. It's like we all kind of have a standard that we've been told is what we need to do, get a house,
Yeah.
get a car,
Yeah, yeah,
start a
yeah.
family, all of those things.
Uh huh.
And, you know, even though it wasn't completely like according to whatever the script, the traditional script is going to be, I had those things. Um, and like I said, over the course of the last couple of years, now all of that is gone. And I have the ability now. I've realized, and I've realized it for a while since everything happened, but it's trying to figure out how to manage it. Like, I could do whatever I want. Even
We
though,
we all have that ability to do whatever we want. It's just what we choose to do
yeah,
is the most important thing.
yeah, I mean, everybody chooses to kind of follow the traditional script.
The
It's
the
the most
set of
common
rules you're
way.
given when you're younger, you see other people, like you said, family, job, this, and that, and you're like, okay, if I work hard enough, then maybe one day I could have that too.
Yeah. And right now, I think that one of the things that I'm struggling with right now is being able to fully express myself because I don't have to necessarily constrain myself. And that's an odd place to be, especially,
It's a great place to be.
well, it's a great place to be, but it's an odd place to be when for more than 40 years you find yourself being pressed into a certain kind of box and pressed in a certain lane. And then when you don't have to go that way, like you don't have, I mean, you still have responsibilities, you still have things that you have to do, but you don't have, it's like the weight is lifted off of you, but you're so used to the weight, you're like, I don't understand. What can I do? Like,
Do you still walk around as if you're still carrying that weight?
sometimes, and it's you kind of seek the thing that you, and I'm not saying that it was a burden, but the thing that you had, that you were yoked to, you seek it when you're released from it. You're like, wait, I'm supposed to have this. This thing isn't here anymore. Where is it at? How do I get that back? But then, if you really think about it, it's unnecessary, and it's way easier to navigate without some of those extra pressures that you put on yourself. And society doesn't really put pressure on you, but you put pressure on yourself to conform to what society says you should do. And so to find yourself in a situation where you don't have to do that and you can seek a creative outlet or multiple creative outlets, it's strange, if especially if you've been doing it a certain way for so long.
Yeah, and then, well, like you said, when you lose something that you've had or that's been there the whole time and you're trying to get it back, what I've learned in life is like you're not always going to get it back. You might get a semblance of it, maybe a piece of it back, but the stuff that you find is going to be totally different for the most part. And you have to find a way to change yourself or adjust in that new environment or with that new thing. But you do take the things that you learned from that first time and you place it into this new setting, you know, like the strengths, your weaknesses, what you accomplished, what you didn't accomplish, what you want to, what you feel like you should have but haven't worked towards or haven't found that way to accomplish it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, like for the past couple of years, like I was a bum. I just went around the world like a nomad. I just went places. I didn't really stick around that much. I didn't stick around with too many people. I was just on my own for the most part. And living that lifestyle really taught me like how to take care of myself, how to be in certain rooms, and like the way that I should carry myself sometimes, you know? And now that I'm getting older, now that I'm seeing all these things happening in my life and just going through uh, good times and bad. I mean, I've had this conversation with so many people. Like, life is just peaks and valleys. Sometimes you're good, and sometimes it's bad. And
Yeah.
it's always gonna be like that. You're gonna have good times. You're gonna have bad times. Bad times don't always last, just like good times.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of, I think, one thing for me is that, since I've gotten older, I have a different perspective on a lot of things. And I, I've allowed myself, for a lot of years to kind of turn a blind eye to certain circumstances that I was dealing with. And, it feels good to kind of be free of some of that and to,
Yeah, it's hard to turn a blind eye right now, huh?
yeah, yeah. But, it's good to be free of a lot of that baggage. But, again, you do find yourself kind of longing for parts of it. But, you know, you have to kind of understand that, like you were saying earlier, you might find something kind of similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. And you can't try to force things to be exactly how they were, because things happened that first time and everything went down that path for a reason. And if you try to force that same thing, not only are you not going to get it, because, you're not going to get that exact same thing, but you're going to make it worse for yourself and everyone involved.
Yeah, because I've been in places in my life where I forced certain things my way, and I got what I wanted, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. Like the what's up, Piper? Yeah, everybody. I don't know if the guests, or not the guests, but like the I don't know if like the audience members know, but like we have two dogs, and they've been in the background and on the. Hey, get away from that! Go over there. Like we've had them in the background, like on the couch and stuff like that. This one's Piper, and the other one is Emmett.
Okay.
And like they're always here. But going back to what I was saying, sometimes the prize you get isn't the one you wanted, or sometimes it isn't the one you wanted, and you can't get mad because at least you got something.
Yeah. And I look at it like I've been kind of, mulling this over in my mind, for the better part of a year now, and trying to kind of figure out how to proceed with things. I'll give a kind of a brief synopsis of what happened over the last year and a half.
Okay, so this sounds like it's gonna be So what I usually do with the podcast is like I'll have a conversation first. We'll like talk for each other real quick, and then so I can just get a sense of you and where you want to take it. But I feel like this is gonna be uh, an interesting place. So let's start the podcast now.
All
And
right.
we can talk about that. All right.
All right.
Bet,
That
bet,
sounds
bet.
good.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm Profoundly Chill. I am your host, Joe Navarro. Today, my next guest is somebody who I've met recently but have gotten to know very well. Very interesting guy, very funny guy. But let me just introduce him right here. Everybody, welcome Howard to the podcast.
Hey, what's up?
So, Howard, I just want to ask you first, like, because you don't do stand-up. But
Not yet.
Not yet, but you've been in the stand-up world in Houston, the Houston scene and stuff like that. And you work at a comedy club as well.
Yes.
And so I just want to know your perspective on what you've seen from when you started there to now, to like your perspective on the scene, or like everything that you've seen happening in front of you.
Yeah. For me, I've had an interest in comedy for a long time. I've been writing premises for years, and I work at the Secret Group. I used to go to the Secret Group kind of regularly for different events and different things they're having up there. And last year, I wanted to make a little extra cash, so I joined the Secret Group as a second job. And
So you've always been a fan and around the
Yes.
comedy scene and like other events that they have at Secret and stuff like that. But like you working there, what changed from being just a patron to an employee?
Well, this is going to go to a kind of a dark place, so be prepared.
Okay, yeah. Hey, this is Unprofoundly Chill. We're prepared for anything.
Yeah, so my mom was diagnosed with cancer in 2021, and for 4 months I moved back to California to help her while she was going through her initial treatment and everything for cancer. Fortunately, the job I had at the time, I was able to transfer, and I was able to pick up work and work a pretty decent schedule while I was in California. But it was a situation where I could use more money. My time in California had come to an end, and I'd come back to Houston in late December of 2021, and I was like, I need to find
Like
another.
December, so that was like still COVID was a rise. Like people were
Yeah,
still,
it was right at the tail end. Like
Yeah.
the mask orders were over. Most places didn't have mask mandates anymore, and so
even when it was big in Texas, a lot of people were not
Yeah.
wearing masks. So.
yeah. And so came back late December, mid December, and then was like, okay, got back in the flow of work and was like, okay, I could use some extra money to put aside to be able to try to go back and forth to California a little bit more regularly while my mom's undergoing treatment. While she was undergoing treatment while I was out there, the cancer didn't spread. It stayed the same size, but and it didn't spread, which, obviously whenever you're undergoing treatment, you want it to get smaller, but the fact that it didn't spread and it didn't get any bigger was still positive, So I was like, well, I can't go transfer for any like regular extended amounts of time necessarily again. But if I pick up a second job, I'll have extra money, and then I can. I've pretty much kind of made my own schedule for my job, so I was like, I can schedule myself and get all of my work done in a condensed amount of time, go and spend, extended weekends, you know, in California and come back. So I was like, I'm gonna get a second job so I can put up some more money so I can, have more time to kind of go back and forth. And, while my mom is undergoing treatment and everything. So started at Secret in March, March of 2021. No, 2022. So,
Oh, really? So I worked there from, what was it, July 2018 to July 2020. Yeah, it was crazy. It was around my birthday too, July 16th. And like working there was a pretty cool experience. I learned a lot of things. But like, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. Is she still going through
well,
the
like I said,
process?
the last year, a big part of what started everything kind of falling apart. My mom passed away September of last year.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. R.I.P.
Yeah. After after when I was out there, she went through the first stage. Like they had their initial plan of what they were going to do, and like I said, at the end of that, they evaluated the situation. It was like it hasn't gotten any bigger. It hasn't spread anywhere. We're going to increase your dosages and add more treatments to try to get it to go smaller. Since it hasn't grown, it hasn't spread, this means that, there's a good chance that we can get it to go smaller if we increase your dosages. And, part of that, she's in her 60s, so they always want to be more cautious. They don't want to necessarily hit you with everything all at once, when you're older in age, because, they don't know how your body is going to react and respond to the treatment. So they're like, this is our initial plan. Okay, it didn't spread, it didn't grow. That's good. We would have preferred it to shrink, but it didn't spread, it didn't grow. So now we're going to do this.
How did you feel when you're hearing all this happening?
It's devastating. It's hard to kind of even like, it doesn't seem real even looking back at everything that happened. And a part of that was in 2019 my father passed. And so we're still kind of dealing with that, when, find out my mom had, cancer, and there was a bunch of like weird things that had happened in the family. And, it was like finally kind of getting close to being normalized. And then that, her diagnosis happened, and it was like, okay, what, what the hell, so that kind of like I said, it started
going from your dad dying to now your mom's going through cancer treatment, and it's like I'm pretty sure it was a big toll on her just as well as you.
yeah. And I'm the oldest of five, and all my siblings had kind of different reactions through the course of all of that. And there were it sounds so petty, like if I start going into all the details of like kind of the weird things that were going on with me and my siblings. And
well, you don't have to get into it, but
Yeah.
like you can just say like it was weird. Like
Yeah.
were there just fights, like arguments with you
Yeah,
guys?
it was small arguments. Like one of my brothers was upset because he felt like he wasn't included in some of the plans to get my father's belongings.
See, that's a tough thing for me too, because like my parents are getting older now, and like my dad is like 60, and he's not doing too well. And like in the back of my head, I'm just like, how long does he have left? And going through that, where you're like talking to your family, is like, no, let's do this. We'll work this out, or figuring out the estate and all that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it like complicates relationships, specifically, especially in the family.
It definitely does. And like one of the things was like, so one of my brothers felt like he wasn't included in the plans. But part of it wasn't like I wasn't including him in the plans because I didn't want him to be involved. It was just a kind of a logistical thing, and like his health, like he's in need of a knee replacement, and so he has issues with his knee, and so me and my other brother are the ones that did the majority of the moving of the stuff and pack. My one of my sisters packed a good amount of his stuff, and then me and my other brother packed it up and drove it out. So I got a U-Haul truck, drove to New Mexico by myself, loaded up his storage by myself, and then my brother met me. So that was in Las Cruces, and then we went. My brother met me in Albuquerque, and then we finished up loading up his apartment and everything, and then drove from Albuquerque, New Mexico, to California.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Southern California.
Southern California.
Yeah.
Your brothers and sisters too. Everybody.
Yeah. I'm the only one that wasn't born in Southern California. But we, for most of my life I lived up until I moved here, most of my life I lived in Southern California.
Where were you born?
I was born in Washington, Seattle.
Seattle, Washington?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. So you growing up with your brothers and sisters, and then now this is happening to you guys. Like, so I'm pretty sure, like, after your mom died, like, did it change you in any way? Did it just make you see life differently, change your perspective?
Yeah.
Or because after, like, going from your dad to your mom, that's a big thing in life.
Yeah. I'll say, without a doubt, the day my dad died, the person that I was, I'm not that person anymore. And then when my mom died, I'm not the person that I was from the time my dad died to when she died.
Yeah.
And so it's if you've known people who have lost, parents, it's something that you hear and you think you understand it until you go through it.
Okay, let me ask you a dumb question. Are you technically an orphan right now?
Oh, okay. So me and Skateboard from Secret Group,
Yeah, no
right?
skateboard. Shout out Donald.
Yeah, so we both have a jokes. We have a couple of jokes, inside jokes that we talk to each other. We both say that we're different versions of Batman because, unfortunately, both of our parents, passed within the last 3 years. So we both have that in common. And then the other thing we've been
Which Batman are you though? Are you?
I would say that I'm more the angry Batman.
So Batflick.
No. See, we're gonna go down a crazy trail if you start bringing up the DCU. That's not no. And so so we say that, and then of course our other joke, we were like, we're gonna start our podcast, with the two of us, and we're gonna call it DuckTales because he's Donald and I'm Howard.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So we always have little duck jokes, and then it's funny because someone for a while kept on putting up like weird little ducks all around the secret group, and there's still a few of them that nobody has messed with, but they would be like sometimes on girders, like on different weird shelves behind the bar, and sometimes it's like there'll be one place one day, and then you'll look to see if the duck is still there, and it's not, and then you'll find it somewhere else randomly in the bar.
They move the duck.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to hold on a second. I didn't want to cooperate.
That's funny though. That's funny that somebody just put ducks all over the place.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna add to it, but I just haven't gotten around to kind of messing around with adding the random ducks around there.
That's awesome. So going back to your perspective in life. So after your dad passed, you said you weren't the same person you were, and then after your mom passed, that changed you even more.
Yeah.
Well, like, so when we were talking earlier, you were talking about like you have a lot of free time right now.
Yeah.
Is this part of it?
Yeah. So after my mom passed, we're trying to, do all the arrangements, take care of, her belongings. One of my brothers was staying with her at the time, and he was going back and forth between Washington and my mom's house. And so we're trying to figure things out with that. Had come to an agreement with the landlord, and then the landlord kind of changed that agreement, and that caused a bunch of strife because I thought that I was going to be able to manage different things. It's a long, complicated issue that happened, and so the landlord changed their mind on what they were going to do, and which caused some strain for my brother, which caused conflict within the rest of the family, and it expanded into my aunts and uncles, and just kept rising to a boiling point. And what ended up happening is that on November 5th of last year, I was locked out of my house. My ex basically said, "You're not welcome here anymore." And
so why did she kick you out?
Well, the thing about it was that it was sudden. She's said different things, and I don't understand her reasoning, and she's changed how she's spoken about it. So I don't know, but the messed up part about it was that November 5th was the day after what would have been her 64th my mom's 64th birthday. She was born on November 4th.
And the day before you got...
Or the day after. Yeah.
Oh, the day after.
Yeah. And so it's like, that's like I was already feeling bad the day before, and I went to work on November 5th. Like, I was like, I have work to do. I couldn't work on the 4th. Like, I woke up and I was like, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to take care of the things that I need to take care of. And I just couldn't. So I didn't go to work that day. And so the next day I was like, okay, I got work that I got to do. And, even though I don't feel like working, I have to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I go out, and then on my way home, I get a message, "You're not welcome here anymore." I'm like, wait, like, that's a crazy message to see. Like, she didn't call me. She didn't talk to me. I see a message that says that.
And before this, did you have any indication that she wasn't...
We were having some issues, and she was upset with me because I was trying to handle things on my own with how things were going with, handling things with my mom's.
But she knew what was happening, right?
Yeah. And it's a long story even with that. Like, we literally could be here for hours explaining different things about all of the things that happened during the course of my mom being sick, and like towards the end, like...
Yeah, but so she kicks you out. You're like, I got to go to work. And so what are you doing after that?
After that, I literally was living in my car. Like, I didn't have a place to go.
You're homeless.
I was literally homeless. I was literally like parking at parks and Walmarts and stuff. And I didn't have any clothes. Like, I had the clothes that I was wearing. I didn't have anything. And one of the things that is frustrating about all of this, like right now, somewhere out there in Houston, someone is trying to serve me with papers for a lawsuit. And
Oh, really?
Yeah. No.
Are they hiding somewhere?
Well, because the thing is this. I've been trying to, like, since that happened, this happened in November of last year. Uh-huh. Since that happened, I've been trying to, talk to her, talk to my daughter, try to get my stuff. I've bought a lot of new clothes because I didn't have a choice. I literally had one pair of shoes that I was wearing. I had like the outfit that I was wearing, and I had a jacket that was in the car, and that was it. I didn't have a cell phone. I had my car charger for my cell phone.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything. Like, I didn't, when I left that day, I wasn't expecting not to be back in the house that evening.
Right.
And, because if I had suspected that something like that was going to happen, then I would have packed up my laptop, packed up all of my important things, important documents that I needed. Like there's so many things that I would have taken with me if I had known that that was going to happen. And it's funny because one of the things that she's trying to say in her pursuing legal action is that I just left and that I abandoned the house and that I just
Oh,
decided.
she's saying that. Oh, wow.
And so she's suing me for storage fees for my stuff. Some of my stuff she said that she got rid of, and it's like, how are you suing me for storage fees when I have documentation saying that I wanted to get my stuff? And so she took a snippet of where she was trying to negotiate what I can take and what I couldn't take. And I was like, no, just keep it then. But she's trying to say, oh yeah, that's you saying that you're abandoning your stuff. And I was like, so if I'm abandoning my stuff at that point, how are you charging me storage fees for my stuff?
Wait, do you have the text message still?
Oh yeah, I have all the messages. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, eventually I'm going to get caught. Like, okay, so this is the messed up part. I've been trying to, be cool, try to talk to her, be reasonable over this whole span. And part of me is like, I don't have any ill will towards her. I just want to get my stuff, try to, repair, whatever damage to the relationship I have with my daughter and move on with my life. If me and her never speak again after I get my stuff, then so be it, like I said, I have no ill will towards her.
You just want your stuff back.
Yeah, I want my stuff back.
Yeah.
And I can't control how my daughter perceives the things that have happened, but
How old is your daughter?
my daughter will be 23 in
Okay, so
a week
She
and a
has
half.
seen a lot
Yeah.
happen with you two.
And the thing that's crazy is that obviously she's old enough to be able to look at things herself and make her decision and whatever. And it's frustrating that she's been presented some information and has decided not to hear me out on certain parts of it. And like we kind of had a falling out because
Yeah, I like how you said it. She has presented some information. No, what's happening is her mom is bad mouthing you.
yeah,
And she's saying certain things about you, and it's getting in her head. And she said it over the years because that's what happened with my parents.
Yeah.
My mom took my younger brother, my baby sister, and me, and then she just kept saying, "Oh yeah, your dad ain't shit. He doesn't pay. Da, da, da. He doesn't give me money for this and that." And over the years, I kind of had this like idea of two different ideas of him, of who he was, and then what my mom was telling me. And then during when I was like 16, 17. We had to move because my mom was on drugs and she couldn't take care of us. So I made the choice to like move in with our dad and stuff like that. And I got to know him better. And I got to see the truth. And I'm not talking about it in terms of just like she was lying the whole time. Of course, she said those things out of anger and out of hurt. And it wasn't all true. But there were certain things where I just put the pieces together and I was like, okay, this happened because that happened, they did that, and then boom, that's why she said this, and it just got me to understand my dad more and understand who he is. Like, he's a really good man, and like,
Yeah.
he worked his ass off all his life, and my mom too. But like, just when people get hurt, they just say bad things sometimes.
Yeah. And, I would say that there's three sides to every story.
Yeah,
His side,
exactly.
her side, and the truth. And
Yeah.
one of the sides is closer to the truth than the other. But most of the time, neither side, neither person is going to completely give the truth.
Exactly.
There's always going to be a shade of their perspective that tints the other person in a darker light than they should be.
Well, you said it right there. It's perspective. It's not the truth. It's their opinion. It's what
Yeah.
they think they saw. And sometimes our memory lies to us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't actually remember everything that happened.
Yeah.
And we can't really put it on ourselves just to believe it the whole time. We have to ask ourselves, did that really happen?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I feel I'm upset with myself in a way because how there's situations where you kind of have an idea of what a result can be. And then you're like, this is a possibility based on past evidence. It's very likely that this is going to happen this way. And then it does. And you're like, yeah, I knew that, but I still didn't do what I should have done to prevent it from going in this direction.
Okay, so I have had that same idea where like I've had instances where like I know what's going to happen and I'm just seeing it happen right in front of me and I'm just like, I should have prepared for this. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't prepare.
Yeah. And it's a situation like I said, right now there's some guy trying to serve me papers. I made a mistake. I made a mistake, and I floated the idea of legal action if I can't get my stuff. And then her stuff is dated after our conversation, like in terms of her typing everything up and all that stuff. So I'm like, yeah, you floated that idea. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna beat you to it. Yeah. and then you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like I shot myself in the foot, but then like
I've had that happen before too.
But the thing is, it's like I have been gathering information and I've been, getting different things and getting like paperwork together to file, but I'm like, I don't want to file yet. And I've been putting it off. And then when I found out that she had already done that, I'm like,
okay, now in that moment where you said it, were you just saying it because you were angry and you just wanted your stuff?
No, I was not angry at all. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, I would like to get my stuff back. She sent. This is the thing. She is a very talented writer, and she wrote this nice email where it seemed like she was so brokenhearted about me deciding to leave on November 5th and that she didn't know what to do because I was, a big part of her life and all this stuff. And then she, she was saying that I wasn't communicating with her, that I was even interested in any of my stuff, which again, I have messages to show otherwise. And that because of that, she decided that she was going to donate some of my stuff because she wasn't sure what I was going to do or if I ever was going to be back. And I'm like,
what?
Yeah. And I'm like, so my response to that email was, I always said that you're an extremely talented writer, even more talented than I am, because, I write a lot of different things and have written different things over the years, just kind of messing around. I've written articles that I wanted to submit and never ended up submitting, and like just different things, essays and things that I wrote while I was, going to school. And I'm like, some of the things that she's written, I'm like, yeah, you're a better writer than I am. Like that's one of those things for, not everybody can admit that. Is that what
attracted you to her? Because like she was so good in what she does?
Yeah, like, okay, we met, I'm an old man, as you are aware, the rest of the people don't know. We met.
Oh, no, this is the camera. People can see.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm an old man too.
Yeah. But we met in 1998.
98. Okay.
Yeah. We're both the same age. We're both 44. Funny thing is that the first day that the guy tried to serve me the papers was on the 16th, which was her 44th birthday. So wow. she just turned 44 this past Saturday. And I was at work and I was like kind of paranoid. I was like, is this guy going to show up here? Is he going to show up here like looking for me, trying to serve me? And I was like, man, I don't want to deal with this right now. And
so was that thought in the back of your mind? Everywhere you look is like, is he coming to serve me? Is he coming to serve me?
Yeah. Like I was looking at the people who were coming up. And I was like, what's he carrying? Does he have any folders with him? No.
He's got a gun? Okay.
No guns allowed in the secret group either.
In that situation, you'd rather have a gun than a folder.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, that's the most dangerous thing that I can see right now. So, that was when he first tried to serve me. He tried to serve me today. He left a note on the door. I wasn't home, and then I came back. I saw the note, and I was like looking around, like, oh shit, where's this motherfucker at? Like, is he hanging out, trying to see if I pop back up? But
So the note? What did it say?
it's like it said something about I have documents for Howard Cannon on this day. So I'm sure he took a picture that he left a note there to show his attempt. And that's obviously going to end up being something that they're going to use in terms of saying, trying to present me with all those papers and all that stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, I mean, eventually he's going to catch up to me.
Eventually.
I mean, it's going to happen. I just have to figure out if, unfortunately, like filing lawsuits and going through all that isn't cheap. And that's part of the thing that's kind of hindered me and slowed me down in my progress of it, because I haven't had any extra money to dedicate to that. And some of the extra time that I have had, I mean, I'm still, to be 100% honest, I'm still dealing with depression and mourning from everything with my mom.
You're still processing.
And it's hard to process because I didn't really have a chance to mourn. Like, she died in September. We had, a gathering. We had different things that we were trying to work through in terms of things with the landlord, where she was living. And then I was on the street and, on November 5th. So in 45 days, she died, and in 45 days, not even 45 days. No, yeah, about 45 days later, I was homeless. So that's not a normal circumstance to find yourself in.
Not at all.
And I'm still like, I am glad that I have a level of introspective where I can kind of put boundaries on different emotions and things, which is good and bad. Like, it's good to be able to kind of seclude things off at different points and try to manage and try to take care of business. But then it's like, when that wall gets knocked down, it's like devastating.
You can dissociate for a while, but eventually it'll come back up.
Yeah. And it's compounded because it's like you've been suppressing it for so long. So it's even stronger.
It's like throwing dirt under a rug. Eventually it'll pile up and just come out.
Yeah. And so, I have times where I feel normal and I feel like I'm moving on with my life and I'm, processing the things that are going on right now. But then, something random will happen and it'll make me, trigger a memory. Like, anytime I hear a Prince song, like, Prince was one of my mom's favorite artists. And then, well, it's funny because one of the things, looking back now, one of the things, like, my dad had issues and, my parents, had fights and all kinds of things. They were separated here and there. They were actually separated at the time when my father passed. He was living in New Mexico at the time, and, my mom was still in California. And looking back, I'm like, oh, my dad was the poor man's Prince, because he was a multi-instrumentalist, and he did a lot of things in different bands and like did a lot of like things like that back in the day.
Wow.
And then, he also, unfortunately had issues with alcohol, which is part of what led to, his death. And there were so many things looking back where it's like you start to see the connections. Like, growing up as a kid, you don't have like the whole picture. Like, you see a part of it and you don't have a full understanding of the world and how relationships work.
Yeah, but even your picture is skewed on that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you only see a part of the picture.
Yeah.
And you think that you understand things.
No, you think the painting that's in front of you, whatever's in front of you right now, is perfect and it's great and things are going fine, but behind the scenes there's fighting, there's problems, there's money, alcoholism, all that stuff, and like you try to hide it from your kids, but eventually they find out.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It's hard to completely shield them, and it's funny because it's like, you see yourself repeating patterns of your parents sometimes. Like
Yes.
if you're in relationships, and like me and my ex, we both were repeating patterns that our parents did as we grew up. So, reason why I'm in Texas right now,
Yes.
we got in, a fight, and she decided I'm moving to Texas, and she moved to Texas. When she was a kid, her parents got in a fight from California. So this is a crazy thing.
Wow.
Okay, her family and my family kept, like, we've intersected so many times. Like, before we eventually met in 1998, we've intersected so many times and didn't realize it. Like, people, like some of her cousins I knew, some of my cousins she knew. She literally lived like 4 blocks from one of the cousins that I would visit all the time, and she wouldn't be outside because her dad wouldn't let her outside when she was staying with him. But she was like 4 blocks away, 4 blocks away, like, as kids. And then, like, when we came out here to visit family here in Texas, she was like, her family that's here in Texas was like not even a mile away. And then, like I said, I went to school with some of her cousins, and it was so crazy that, when we did finally meet, it was kind of like a weird coincidence, but it's like we've been crossing paths for 12 years without having ever met, which is,
That's crazy.
it's super crazy. But yeah, so her mom moved to Texas from California, but her dad was like, I'm not going back to Texas. And so he stayed in California. So when she moved to Texas, I was like, well, I don't want to not see my daughter grow up. I was depressed for a while. Like, it was a big, long
Of
thing.
of course, I understand.
And so I ended up moving out here, and I've been out here ever since. That was 2002. So I've been out here since then. And, same thing in terms of long-term relationship. Didn't get married till later. Like, me and her were planning on getting married. Like, my parents didn't actually get married until 1997.
Okay, how long were they together?
They were together at that point since 1978. So,
Man, that's honestly, I think that's what's gonna happen to me. I'm gonna find somebody and just be with them for a while. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, marriage is not.
yeah. And so, that's the thing. It's like, we were on that same path. We had the house. We both had cars.
You're both working towards
Both
something
working
together.
towards that
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
And we weren't married. And one of the things is that there were times where I was being more pushy on it, and then times when she was being more pushy on it. And then it just never happened. And I can honestly say that it probably was more me than her for different parts of it. But I don't know. It's always tough, like, looking back at things and kind of evaluating, like, with hindsight, because there were circumstances that led up to each point. And looking back, you could be like, oh yeah, we could have done this, we could have done that, we could have done whatever. But in those moments, as things led up to those moments, you didn't know that. You could just look back. You could never kind of.
Yeah, because in your mind you're going through all this stuff, all these
Yeah.
scenarios, all these things that could happen, da da this, da da that, and you're just acting in that certain moment. You're not really taking the time out to think of
Yeah.
everything that you could be doing in that moment.
Yeah. And so, I do tend to kind of, I look at all case scenarios, like, moving forward for the most part. I've actually been better at not doing that since everything collapsed, because it's like, I'm like, what's the point in planning? Sometimes I go dark with that kind of mindset of what's the point of planning. But also I've been positive. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna enjoy the moment and see how it goes. I've been better at doing that than I ever have
Yeah,
been
yeah.
before.
Let me not plan anything. Let me just experience it.
Yeah, and I've been a lot better at doing that. But then it's like, then part of me will end up like later on, like, oh man, you did that. You should have done this instead. This would have been better for you in the long run, and like kind of like worrying about different things. But it's like at the same time, it's like one of the other lessons in terms of different things, with my parents both passing in the last 4 years, is that you don't know what tomorrow brings.
Nope.
You don't know what's going to happen. So you can have all the plans of the world. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. And it's crazy because I had, when I was younger, I had 2 separate health scare incidents, which both sent me down weird depressive episodes at different times. The first one is it wasn't as serious, but it did scare me. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but there were a couple of NFL players that died like back to back from enlarged hearts. And so
What?
Enlarged hearts.
Enlarged tarts.
What happens is, there's lots of different reasons why it happens, and speculation about people using steroids and other human growth hormone, and it ends up your heart gets bigger, but because your heart doesn't stop pumping, it can't shrink. Like you could lose muscle everywhere else, but you can't lose muscle in your heart. But what ends up happening is that because it's stronger and it's bigger, it ends up having like fatigue, and you can have heart attacks a lot easier. And even though you're an athlete, like it's worse if you're an athlete because you make your living doing a strenuous thing.
Exactly.
So
And
then
the
that
heart's
means
always-
that it's going to pump, and it's going to keep getting stronger, and it's going to get more fatigued,
Yeah.
and it's a greater chance for it to stop. That might have been the whole situation with the Bills cornerback. I don't know if you follow football. I can't think of his name right
Was
now.
it DeMar?
Damar Hamlin. Yeah. That might be a situation with him. They haven't fully come out about it, and it's his own health situation.
With that situation, because like he got hit in his chest and immediately just like was out.
But it could be related
his
to an
body just
enlarged
went
heart.
to shock.
Yeah,
and his heart just like gave out like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it could be a thing that could be related to an enlarged heart, and we're just not being told about it. Because it's his health. He doesn't have to disclose whatever.
Not even him. LeBron James's son had a
had a arrhythmia issue as well. And it's unfortunately it's a lot of those things are, well, I don't think it's more common. I think it's more understood.
Yeah.
Because most of the times it would just be like, oh, this person died of natural causes at 37. You're like, natural causes at 37? What does that mean?
Sometimes people have hemorrhages too out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's
And so my situation was, I went to, I can't remember why I went to the doctor. I went to the doctor for, I had hurt my shoulder, and I was getting my shoulder looked at, and just casually they were like, any other things like chest pains? I was like, no. Well, I have pain right here in my it was a hair follicle that was deformed and got infected, and so it was filling. There was a pus pocket that was filling up, and so there was pus like filling up in my chest. That was painful, and so they were like, I said I had the pain in my chest relating to that. They were thinking that I was saying that I had heart pain in my chest because it's on my left side, and so they did. My heart rate was kind of up because of the fact that I'm fighting off an infection at the same time. It's like inflamed and infected. And they did an ultrasound. And when they did the ultrasound, like it didn't look physically like inflamed or anything. There wasn't like swelling that was physical on the outside, but it was all inside. Like, and I could feel the pressure.
You could feel that.
And so they did an ultrasound, and it looked like my heart was way larger than it should be. And so then they put me on like a machine to monitor my heart rate for 24 hours. And then they scheduled me for a more exact scan so they can actually look to see. And so then that's when they were like, oh, no. Okay, this was a misunderstanding. But when they brought in a specialist and like, okay, yeah, your heart rate is elevated and it's not going down. You don't seem stressed, but it seems like your heart is working harder than it needs to right now. But again, I was fighting off an infection, and like that miscommunication led to a whole bunch of series of tests for them to make sure I didn't have an enlarged heart.
Yeah.
And fortunately I didn't. It was just that situation, which of course just, ended up being drainage and cutting out the tissue that was deformed, and then, packing it and then sewing it back up, and then letting the infection go down, and then checking it for like, I had to get it checked a few times, and I have a scar.
The infection was like in between the layer of your skin.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was under the muscle, which is why it wasn't physical outward. So it was, the pocket was under the muscle, so it was like causing like chest pain, but not like heart chest pain.
It was pressure, just a lot of
the
pressure
on my pec on this side. It was like, it was unbearable. It wasn't like to the touch, but it was like anytime like I did anything where that muscle would be involved, it was like,
yeah.
And so that had me kind of worried, because having to sleep with a heart monitor for 3 days and going through all that. And, part of that was like, at the same time, my dad had a defibrillator installed because he was having heart problems from related to alcoholism. And so having that happen right after my dad had the defibrillator installed was like, and then the 2 NFL players back to back, I think one was on the Vikings, and I can't remember the other one, but it was 2 football players within, I think, like 2 weeks of each other. Both died from complications from an enlarged heart. And I was like, this could be any day. Like, that was on my mind. I was like, and I knew about this part, but I was like, well, that's just maybe incidental, because they're doctors, they're the professionals, they know what they're doing. And if they're saying that there's an issue, then that means there's an issue. But again, it ended up being a misunderstanding.
It's not an exact science.
Yeah. And so for a while after that, I was like, why am I working out all the time? Like, I was in shape at that time, and I was like, why am I doing this? And stopped working out for a while, and it was like, yeah, I need to chill for a little bit. So a little bit of time passes, and I'm like, nah, I got to get back at it. So I started working out again, pretty hard. I was like, okay. I started riding my bike. I was working in the Galleria area, and you know where Fresno, Texas is? It's like between Pearland and Missouri City. Mm-hmm. So I was riding from the Gallerias there.
Fresno, I'm not gonna lie. I went there to play basketball with my friend one time, and they has like some dudes and horses just popping up on the court, and I was just like, okay, Fresno.
Yeah. No, I can't remember who I was talking to recently, but I was talking about that fact. I was like, yeah. It's like you go out there and then you randomly see dudes on horseback just riding down
even
the
out
street.
here, I've seen horses in Sunnyside. I like we live in Edo. I like across the street over here. There's a patch of land, and I see horses there all the time. I'm just like, that's so sad to have like horses here in the city. They don't belong here. Yeah,
I mean it's a weird thing. Even the carriage cars that drive around downtown. Mm-hmm. It's like, I know they can't be going too far out because they have to come back and forth, with the carriages when they're doing the rides during the day.
Yeah. There's a carriage guy down the street right here.
Yeah.
And I see the horse all the time. He's like bathing it and everything. And I'm just like, his hooves, I guess, like hurting because he's standing on the concrete all the time. Yeah. How many times do you have to change the shoes, the horseshoes?
Yeah. And so, that's a 20 plus mile ride. And I was doing that 2 or 3 times a week. So I was riding, what is that? 120 miles a week.
Damn.
And that's minimum. That was the ride to work and back from work, and then I would still ride on my own. I had changed my diet up. I was like kind of experimenting with like different concepts. I wasn't wanting to follow any of the fads, and I was in pretty great shape. I was down to like 240 or around 240, which would be I would like to get down around there eventually again, but I was around 240. But then I was having like, I was feeling fatigued, but I was like, yeah, because I'm working out a lot. Not only was I doing that, I was going to jiu-jitsu and MMA training. I worked a job at a furniture store, so moving furniture and stuff around. So
You were always active.
yeah,
Always doing
and so I was
something.
like, yeah, I feel fatigued because I'm doing all this stuff, and then one day there was blood in my stool, and I was like, what? That's not supposed to be there. And the first time it happened, I was like, okay, maybe I just, got a cut and it just, whatever. And then it kept happening, and I was like, okay, no, that's not good. So I went to the doctor, got, they did some blood work. They were saying, and they were waiting for the blood work. They was like, yeah, we need to do a colonoscopy now because that's not a normal thing. They took a stool sample, they took blood, but they were like, it's going to be a few days before we do that. So we want to schedule you for a colonoscopy ASAP because the sooner we find out if it is cancer, the better. And so had that scheduled. And fortunately, it was just that I had like vitamin D deficiency. Like it was a bunch of like weird deficiencies that were causing me to feel fatigued.
Now, was it your diet?
Yeah, it was my diet. And at that time I started going ahead and taking multivitamins or whatever. And then the blood was from, I had, what's it called? A hemorrhoid that was internal.
Yeah, okay.
And so
that's what I was thinking.
But the thing is, because I didn't know that you could have internal hemorrhoids. Like I thought it was just on the outside, which is why preparation H and all that stuff. And so,
did you feel it inside you?
No, I didn't have any discomfort. Like it was no discomfort at all. But it was just like super red, and I was like, no. And this was all of that happened like right before, like the colon cancer scare was right before my dad passed. It was probably 6-7 months. And so then I was like, again, I got depressed, and I was like, why am I working out like this? I'm busting my ass, doing all this crazy stuff. Yeah, I could have been better with my diet. And, that's what he was saying. It's probably helped contribute to it, to have more fiber, to have less spicy food, which was never going to be a thing because I love spicy food.
I love spicy food too.
And so, but I increased the fiber and it went away. And, it's one of those things where, sure, something so simple, but all of those things looked like combined when you have the fatigue and,
yeah, all the symptoms you've had together, you're just like, oh shit, I might have cancer.
Yeah. And so then that's the thing. It's like, I'm not a hypochondriac or anything like that, but whenever I do start having like, I try to never look up my symptoms ever because I'm like, two times, my symptoms all seem to point to something. Now, here's the flip side of that. 2 times, 2 separate occasions, I've picked winning lottery numbers, but didn't go play them.
And did they win?
Yep.
Oh, yep. Man.
2 separate times, both of them over $100 million. Both of them, no one else won.
What stopped you from doing it?
Because I was like, what are the odds? What are the chances? The first time is like, what? Oh, okay, that's random.
Self doubt then, like
Yeah.
or doubt in general, just like you don't
Yeah.
think it's gonna happen.
And then the second time, because I stopped picking numbers for a while. Then the second time I was like, I'll pick these numbers, I'll go play them, and then I don't feel like going out, and then they hit, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna lie, I cried the second time. The second time, especially because my financial circumstances, the first time my financial situation wasn't great, but the second time my financial situation was worse, and it's one of those things where it's like, you. It's easy to kind of imagine what you would do when you have something like that life-changing happen, but it's like now it's like I have a plan. You know what I mean? But I mean I don't play like that anymore, and I don't even look to try to pick numbers because it's like, what are the odds that I'm going to pick winning numbers 3 times in my life? But that's the same thing in terms of like different weird health things, like
third time's a charm, man.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not in that regard.
You just need to be in a worse situation than you were.
Yeah. I would say that my current situation kind of applies.
Okay. Hey, well, we're gonna go run those numbers right now. Fuck
yeah. No, but yeah, I definitely. You can look at different situations. It's like, oh, what would have happened if this would have happened this way? But there's no guarantee that you would have been successful.
Exactly.
There's no guarantee that I wouldn't have been another guy that won millions of dollars and ended up broke. Like, there's no guarantee of any situation where something could have happened.
That is a possibility, because I've heard from like a lot of stories that people have won like Mega Millions and a large amount of money and then lose it in a year because they don't know how to.
Yeah, and they get taken advantage of. People try to, it's like, oh yeah, this is an investment opportunity, and you'll be able to make 3 times your money in this, and it ends up being a scam.
Athletes have counselors, for that reason. Like, they tell them exactly, like, hey, you just spend this amount of money, put this in the bank, because like kids don't know how to handle that type of money.
And that's part of the reason, like Shohei Ohtani's contract is brilliant, because it's like, first off, who needs more than $2 million a year? Who needs more than that? No one needs more than that. And then to have all of that money on the back half of his life after his career is going to be over, that's super smart.
Yeah.
And it helps the Dodgers, for the duration of his contract, to help build other pieces around him as well. Yeah. So they're not in a tight cap space because of it. And
yeah, but isn't it like a 10-year contract?
Yeah, it's a 10-year contract.
So that he has to stay healthy that whole time, and that is not guaranteed. He has certain guaranteed money, but for him to get all of the money,
his contract is guaranteed. All of it is guaranteed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all $700 million is guaranteed. So it's a situation. Okay, the thing that's funny about that is that there are other teams that have complained about that contract. But it's like, it was agreed to in the collective bargaining agreement. Mm-hmm. So you guys can make contracts like this too. But you guys signed people and didn't do it that way. You signed, people to $400 million contracts and spread out over 7 years or whatever. And all of the money is due within that time.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But then you have to take the cap hit for that. It was put in there, like, about Bobby Bonilla?
No.
Okay. So Bobby Bonilla is, he was, what was it, the Mets? And he made a contract where he didn't receive all his money, but it was guaranteed that he would get $1 million a year at the end of his contract to make up the money that he had signed for. Uh-huh. And so I think that is going through like 2030 something. So he gets $1 million every year, even though he stopped playing in like 1999 or something like that,
so
or early 2000. So yeah, he gets $1 million a year.
Yeah,
and he's been done playing baseball.
All you really need is like maybe 100,000.
Yeah. So and it's funny because it's like that contract existed way back then. Mm-hmm. So why are you getting mad at Ohtani for doing a similar contract now? Like, all of you guys could have done that.
You just didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
Yeah.
And and of course, most players aren't going to necessarily want to do that because I want my $700 million now.
Yeah,
You
that's
know what I mean?
exactly true. Immediate gratification, them
Yeah.
wanting the money now so they can see it in their bank account instead of thinking about the future
Yeah,
and going
and
like,
thinking about the fact like because he did that, they can sign more players, which gives them a greater chance to win a title
Yeah.
in the next 10 years. So
What do you know about David Beckham? Like whenever he came over.
yeah, when he got equity and
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. That was smart. That was, and
yeah,
then he did the same thing for Messi. Whenever he got Miami,
yeah,
they gave him the same type of contract, a lot of money, but also ownership or a piece of ownership for the team. Then that'll add more later on.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like that's what I mean in terms of like not allowing yourself to go the standard path, finding new ways to get to where you want. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna make the same amount of money that other players have signed for, but they're doing it in a more intelligent way. And if you allow yourself to follow the pattern and path that everyone else followed, then you don't find those new opportunities. And that goes back to what I was saying. When we first started, is that I have freedom from the standard things, the standard paths now, because of unfortunate reasons and things that happened. But now I have the opportunity to kind of pursue things that I've been interested in for a long time. Like I've been writing premises since at least 2015, 2014, and talking about doing open mics for since then.
You've been writing jokes ever since 2015.
Yeah, I mean, not super consistently,
Well,
but
trying to at least.
yeah. And so, I have ideas, and it's funny because I have I have things, premises, like I always go back through them and kind of look at them. And I can actually reuse some of them now because
You can reuse all of them.
no. They were very specific to Trump when he was running for president.
Oh,
but
okay.
now I can use them again.
Yeah.
because he's running for president.
Yeah.
And it's like you wouldn't think that you would have.
Well, comics have political jokes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Every time something comes back up, they're like, "Oh yeah, I got like 5 minutes on this. I can bring it back again."
Yeah, and that's something that just goes to show you though. It's like he won the presidency in 2016. Mm-hmm. So I had jokes back then when he was running, and so now it's like, well, it's going to be 2024, and those jokes can come right back.
Oh, and
But-
it's not just you. A lot of other
Yeah,
comics.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, so I've been having this idea for a long time, and now I have more freedom. Where, one thing about doing open mics, most open mics are late at night, and I don't have the same responsibility for a relationship. My daughter, even with different things with our relationship, she's an adult. It's not like she was in high school at the time when I wrote those jokes, so still wanting to be around, still wanting to be present in her life, still wanting to make sure that she's following her path. So that's something else to consider besides like, oh yeah, this pipe dream of me doing open mics or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to kind of talk yourself out of a lot of things because of other responsibilities, even though you can find a way to do those things still meet those responsibilities. And so,
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have a good grasp on like what you want to do, but you have your doubts or you have this idea like, oh, this isn't going to happen, so why should I even try?
yeah. But
know?
I mean, I still have that too. I mean,
And
that's just kind of human
talked
nature.
yourself out of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And then like even the same thing, like right now, I've been working on different concepts and different like things for a set for doing an open mic.
So I like this conversation. So this is a good talk. So you said have you done open mics or have you never been up completely?
I have the closest that I've done. I worked a little bit, part of a show as a co-host for Jimbo Jumbo on a day that Jesse didn't show up. Me and Drew kind of messed around, messing with a couple of audience members.
Oh, both of you were on stage.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the
I love Drew.
closest that I've done
Shout out
recently.
Drew Hallway. Love
Yeah.
you.
But and then I did write some jokes for a roast battle for Birdie when he was going against Kate Vance.
Okay, yeah.
So I wrote a bunch of different concepts and everything, and I'm scheduled to be on the January You Look Like contest. Me and Jolly are going against each other. Matt Jolly Rogers, he's another employee at the Secret Group, and he's also a stand-up comic as well.
Shout out.
So we're scheduled to battle each other on, was it January 12th? Yeah, January 12th.
Oh, that's the date? Okay.
Yeah. And so looking forward to that. I've been writing, stuff for that as well, because obviously I don't want to just go up there and try to riff. I mean, I could, and I probably will, but I think I have like 25, 30 jokes already, and I'm still working on more.
What I've heard from when you're trying to format your jokes and trying to prepare for that, it's good to write at least 25 to 30 jokes for everybody.
Oh yeah, that's the plan. And I actually need to talk to Will to see who else is on that show, and then
Yeah.
I have some jokes for Big Baby Green.
PBG.
I need to make. I have some for Will, but Will. The problem with having jokes for Will is a lot of jokes that I would use for Will are also jokes that I would use for Jolly, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So it's harder to write jokes specifically for Will. Well, it's not harder, but all the jokes that I would write for Will, I was like, oh no, I need to use that for Jolly. And so, because that's the person I'm going against. So
No, but that's good that you can intertwine your jokes with other people. Sometimes I write jokes like that where I could just tell it and it'll just fit anybody.
yeah. No, the hilarious thing about that was that when Eddie was having the roast battle at Secret Group a few months ago, Will couldn't show up for his battle, and Jolly stepped in for him. And I can't remember who he was going against, but all the jokes he wrote for Will worked pretty well for Jolly too. And we were all laughing, and it was so hilarious. He's like, I mean, I didn't prepare anything for Jolly, but I'll just see how these go. And the crowd, the crowd was like, yeah. But, the person that was like, I mean, obviously Jolly it was last minute, so he didn't end up winning, but it's like, man, these same jokes work. And so
okay, so I had that happen one time. I did a roast at Secret, and I was supposed to battle Emil Kettle, I think, but he couldn't show up. So then Doug Dalton took his place, and the jokes were too specific for Emil, right? Because he's a shorter black dude with glasses and stuff like that. I'm like, Doug is completely the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So, and I wrote some brand new jokes, and
the first thing that comes to mind is like, just like the person that I was originally supposed to roast, Doug Dalton regularly uses the N-word. So that's just off the top of my head. Because he looks like someone who would use the N-word just regularly.
What was it? There was a joke. I was doing okay up until the point where I was like, Doug Dalton looks like he says the phrase "I crush puss," and that got a big laugh. But then he fucking did a 180 on me because it was just like, oh, Joe Navarro looks like he doesn't crush puss. That shit, killed the room, and I was just like, oh, he hit me with my own joke. I was like,
and that's one of the things. Like, there's a couple of jokes that I'm like, oh, this is gonna boomerang on me.
It boomeranged,
but I'm still gonna use them because I believe in them. And then, like, I was talking to Jesse. He's the manager at Secret Group and also a comic. And I told him one of the jokes that I have for Big Baby Green, and it's a great joke. I'm not going to say it on the podcast because
you want it for the show.
I want it for the show, and I still want to try it. But it is kind of like, it is more intellectual, and you might not get it. Like, I'll tell you after we stop recording.
Yeah,
you might not get it right then, but like if you give it a beat, then it hits, and it's great, and I love it, but I don't necessarily want to use it because of that, because you have to think about it. and I'm trying to figure out a way to set it up so I can come back with it. And I haven't figured that out yet, but that's part of the process that, be going down this journey of like trying to understand concepts and trying to link jokes together. And I think I actually came up with one just now, but yeah, I mean, I do have way more freedom to try to, I wouldn't say that. So here's the thing. I'm 44 years old. I'm going to be 45 in May. I have no illusions of me being on Netflix and having specials or anything like that. Like for me, this is something to do for fun, to as a creative outlet, to kind of, I enjoy writing, I enjoy comedy, and to be able to combine those two together as, a hobby, that's what I'm looking at it as. And, if I were to ever, like, I'm not going to pretend like that's something that I would turn down, obviously. Like who would turn down an opportunity if I were to ever actually get good at comedy and have those things presented to me? I'm not going to turn them down, but
Yeah.
I'm not trying for that. I guess like it's more it's more of a challenge for myself, like part of part of some of the hangups I've had. I have different levels of anxiety, like most people do, and like one of the things I talked about on another podcast is that one thought that has popped up on times when I was going to go ahead and have my first open mic is that neither one of my parents are going to ever see any of my work. Anything that I do now, neither one of them are going to know about. And that's kind of a weird thing. Like you never think about that until you don't have your parents around. And it's like, yeah, I'm old and, I'm an adult. I've been an adult for a long time, but there's still something about, having something that your parents can see and doing something that to make them proud. And it's weird because I don't have that anymore. And that's can be kind of an overwhelming thought at times.
You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's so. Are you saying that the motivation that pushed you through in life when you were younger was just showing your parents, like, hey, I'm doing something right?
No, not exactly. But that's part of like, like I was saying earlier about the shackles in terms of, you do things not necessarily for your parents' approval, but you end up with it anyway sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's not that you're setting out to accomplish and get a promotion or, get a new job or anything for your parents, but your parents end up being proud of you, if you have a decent relationship with them. And that gives you an even extra boost of like accomplishment,
You're right. I mean, of course, I haven't been like actively looking for it, but I do want my parents' approval of what
Yeah.
I'm doing. And like for me, I've always been the black sheep of the family. From my dad, my mom, dad, younger brother, younger sister, and me. I've been the black sheep. Now my dad has other kids and stuff like that, like half brothers and sisters. But for me, not getting that approval or getting it at all when I was younger, I acted out and I didn't really care about anybody's approval at that point, because I was going through a lot of stuff. My mom was on drugs. Dad was not really in the picture, but he was also an alcoholic and just doing his own thing. And it was like, I didn't have that space to get approval. So I was just like, well, let me just do me and act out. And I've been doing that most of my life. But now that I'm getting older, I'm just like, I'm running shows, doing these things. And then I talked to my mom the other day. She's like, she's happy for me. She's happy that like what I'm doing right now. And I feel good. I feel good that like she's there and she can see like, hey, I went from not being so great to like figuring something out now,
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to be a bummer, but one of the things, like when I got the job at the Secret Group, I told my mom, I was like, oh yeah, I picked up a second job. And one of the things she's like, oh, are you going to perform? Because, growing up, in high school, I was in band, in jazz band. I was captain of the wrestling team. I played football. Like, I was involved. I was in drama. Like, I was doing a bunch of stuff. I was, at that time I was in church and I was in the choir. Like, I was performing all the time in front of people. So that now it's like a situation where it's like I have a level of anxiety that I never experienced before because I never had like even like one-on-one conversations. I don't have a problem. You've played dominoes against me. I don't have a problem. Yeah.
That's a different Howard right there.
Yeah. So lack of confidence, like being shy, those types of things, those aren't me, except most recently when I've been trying to get ready to get on stage. And it's weird. And it's only really been since the pandemic. And I guess that's a part of it. Like being separated from people for a while. And then now it's like my body and brain don't agree in terms of doing things in front of larger groups of people.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out how to be a person again after
being
separated. Because like that happened to me too. I'm not gonna lie. Like after COVID, I had to relearn how to talk to people, how to be in the room, how to have a conversation because I was so separated from other people for so long. Yeah, I just lost those skills.
Yeah, and I sometimes I'll beat myself up about it, but other times it's like I push myself. Like the whole situation with me even getting the roast battle, like I actively pursued that. Like I showed Will the other jokes that I wrote for Kate Vance, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be on. Who do we want to battle?" And we tossed around a couple of ideas, and he was like, "I want to do like a kind of a grudge thing, like maybe somebody works here." I was like, "Okay, then Jolly," and that's ended up being who I'm going up against. But it's like I have the confidence to be able to do that. Like I know I want to be on the show, and I know if I show him this, that he'll want to put me on the show. And so it happened. And so now it's like, yeah, I have that date. That date is locked in. So I'm not going to, whenever I have something like that, I don't back away from those type of challenges. But like, I guess part of the thing with the open mic is that it's more at your will. It's not as much pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can pretty much do anything. I don't know.
And so, like for a show, a guaranteed show, that's easy. Like, I believe in the jokes that I've written so far, and I believe in the jokes that I haven't written yet. But for an open mic, it's a whole different thing because.
How would you attack an open mic? How would you go like about it and prepare for it?
Well, I mean, I have kind of a rough outline of a set that I have.
No, but like before you step on stage, what's your thought process? You think, like, are you just like, oh, this isn't gonna work, or like, oh, I know what I'm doing, I know I'm gonna tell this joke, that joke, and then.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I understand the concept that there's no guarantee that people are gonna laugh at something that you find funny. And there are people who've been doing it for years who will go up and have material that for the last 3 days, like since I work at a club, I've seen different people's materials on multiple days. So I've seen it. I'll see a certain comic 4 times. And the first 3 times, same joke crushes every single time. Gets an applause break. Then the 4th time, crickets. And it's like, wait, what is that? Like, that joke works. I've seen it work. Yeah. I've seen it. This is the 4th time I've seen it, and I still find it funny.
Did that comic deliver it the same way?
Yep.
Okay.
And so,
well, then sometimes you're going to get an audience that's just not going to vibe with you at all.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I understand that. And working at a comedy club, I understand that. I would say maybe just as much as people who perform because of the fact that I see it on the outside and I can kind of draw that connection Like, okay, because when you're doing it, when it's your joke, when you, it gets, it's harder for you to accept when it doesn't hit. Because I've
Yeah, it
seen,
hurts. Yeah,
yeah.
of course. Like you,
So
you, you come in with a certain expectation. It's just like, okay, this joke is gonna hit, and the moment you deliver it and it gets nothing, in my mind, I'm just like, ah, fuck. Now I got to work even harder.
yeah, and so because I'm disconnected from that part of it, I can it's easier for me to understand. It's like, oh no, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just that, like you said,
It wasn't the right
this group
moment.
of people at that particular moment didn't vibe with that
Yeah,
joke.
and also, but I will say this: sometimes it is the comic's job to read the room
Yeah.
and understand what the vibe is, and sometimes you don't always have to tell that one joke that always works. I mean, it's an open mic, like you said,
Yeah.
so try out some new stuff. If you see the room isn't that great, try to change the vibe in the room. But if that's not working, then just throw out some new shit and see what you can make out of that moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, this isn't even just confined to open mics. It's like even, paid comics on paid shows. It's like this joke works most of the time, but there's no joke that's gonna be 100% for every audience. Like, yeah, there's some jokes that most people will like, but then you'll find yourself in a situation where that joke that usually works isn't gonna work.
And then what do you do in that situation? You
Yeah.
know, and that's where you can see what a person is really made of at that moment, specifically with like open micers and like seasoned veterans, because a seasoned vet will see that and they're like, okay, well, let me just either work the room or tell this other joke that I know works just to get the crowd going or the vibe back. And when you see an open micer do that joke that always hits and it doesn't, their confidence just falls
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. And like I said, there's people that I've seen, since I've started, that when I first saw them, I didn't think they were any good. And it was a situation where it's like, what are you doing? Why are you,
Why are you doing this?
why are you doing this to us?
Why are you
And
doing this to yourself, man?
oh no, everybody has different levels of self-loathing
Yeah.
and everything, but it's like, why are you doing this to us? Like, you could have
that
these.
is that is exactly how it feels sometimes. Because like even when I go to the mics and I see some of these newer comics try out these jokes that are just not working, or the premise is just so hacky and just like a normal person would not get into this, and I know that, and I'm just like, why are you even doing that?
Yeah. But the thing about that is that I've seen people that started out and I had that opinion of them that are way better now. They've grown, and I've been able to personally see the growth in their confidence in performing and everything, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
You know why? Because Secret is like a workout room for a lot of comics,
yeah.
especially me. Like that's the place where I started coming at. Like when I was 6 months in, I just started going to Secret all the time, get comfortable in that room. The box is my favorite room. The box is perfect for stand up. The way it is now, the way it was before, it was the room was set up very differently. The stage was at the bar, and the bar was where the stage is at. It was just flipped, and then it was like a long, narrow, like area for the seats and everything, and it was way smaller. You could only fit like maybe 30, 40 people. Now you can fit like 70, 80 right now.
Yeah.
But that I agree with you. There are some comics that I've seen, I mean, including myself, that people have said like, oh, that person sucks, they're not good, da da da. But through the hard work and dedication and constantly going out here, constantly trying to be prepared, constantly getting to all these sets, doing like 3 or 4 mics a night, eventually you do get better.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I love it because I like breaking people's expectation of me. When I first started, people's perception of me for the most part was like, oh yeah, he's just too green, he's not that good at that. But now that I'm getting older, and then seeing that person who treated me differently because they thought I wasn't good, to now where I'm doing all this stuff and seeing I'm just like, oh, okay. That shows me that, okay, I am doing something better, because now they want my attention, they want my approval, because I am doing something right.
Yeah.
But for years, I just saw people's like reaction of me, their judgment and stuff like that, and it just hurt me inside, because I was just like, oh my god, I'm terrible, I'm horrible.
Well, I think that I mean, everybody's different in terms of how they internalize their perception from other people.
Yeah, but the thing is, you only get one chance with most people.
Yeah.
You only get that one immediate impression. That first impression is the most important for a lot of people. And I've talked about this before on the podcast because it is hard to change somebody's opinion of you if the first one is really bad.
Yeah. It definitely is. That is a hurdle that is difficult to get over for a lot of people. But at the same time, I don't want to say any names because I don't want people.
Don't say any names. No.
Yeah, I don't want people to kind of be like, "Well, what about me now?" Like you said this about that person. What about me? And
Yeah, there's always going to be people like that just listening, going like, "Where's my name? What are they gonna,
And so there, like I said, there were people that I saw them when I first started, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, I get what you're trying to do, but you're not close at all.
Yeah.
And then it's a funny thing because I know that when I start, there are going to be people who have that same opinion of me. You know what I mean? Like
they're good. Okay. That is very true. There are going to be some sets where you're not going to do as well as you want, and some people will see that for the first time and just have that first impression.
Yeah,
of you. You're
but
right.
at the same time, it's like I think that the ideas and concepts that I have, I think are sound. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be capable of getting the most out of them. It might be a situation where I'm a better writer for other people in other situations than for myself. And me personally performing them doesn't work. It could be the case. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I'm not.
Can I be honest with you? That is a possibility.
Yeah.
Because like I had a conversation with some comics the other night at Secret, and I was talking about how when I first started comedy, I wasn't good. I was mumbling. I like fumbled the mic all the time. I would like have it too far to where people couldn't hear me. I was just too in my head. And then when I would bomb, I would just get into myself and just be all depressive and negative and stuff like that. People just told me it was horrible, right? But I learned how to write jokes, and then I learned how to have a personality. Now, what I mean by that is like I had to figure out the setup, premise, and stuff like that, and I just kept saying it over and over again. And I had a monotone voice when I first started, so I was like, "Hey, everybody," and over the years, the attitude, the personality has come out. I have developed into a comedian. At first I was just a joke writer, but now I'm getting more into like the entertainer part.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a while because just going out a lot and just trying out different stuff. Like you said, when you're at an open mic, it's open season. You could do whatever you want, just as long as it's funny. And I think that's the most important thing that a lot of people don't think of. They're like, "Oh, let me tell this joke, or let me tell this story about my trauma and this like that." Nobody cares about your life when they're coming to a comedy show. They're just there to laugh. Yeah. However you do it is however you do it, though. But you just need to make them laugh.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like there's so many different types of comedy. Like you could talk about your personal life and personal trauma and everything, and you can get laughs out of that.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of you understanding the beats of it, understanding the parts of it that can be funny.
Also, reading the room is important too.
Yeah.
Because like I get into some I have some bits where I talk about some personal stuff like losing my virginity and like one night stands and stuff like that. And when I first started telling this stuff, I didn't feel good about it because sex has always been a weird thing for me personally, right? And I felt like the reason why I started talking about it is because it makes me feel weird. I was like, let me try to figure out a way where I can make fun of it, understand it from a certain perspective, but also get other people to either relate or understand where I'm coming from. And by going through that, there have been some moments where the room is just weird because I'm telling the story or how I'm saying it or exactly the words and stuff like that. And then there have been other moments where people are just on my side. Like I did the storytelling show at Natsuo. They have it on Tuesdays. And I told two stories, right? And the two bits were like me losing my virginity and then me having a one night stand with a girl where it doesn't go too well, right? And I did great. I did amazing, but that was because the stories I were telling were personal, and I entered the room and I just told everybody, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna tell these stories. It's gonna be a good time. Just be with me. Just go for the ride and just sit down." As opposed to like comedy shows, like strictly shows where you're just doing jokes and bits. Sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes they're just expecting the jokes to just come out, joke, da 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 da, and you can't really set it up. That's why storytelling and like joke telling are two different
Yeah.
beasts, you know?
And it's not everybody could do both. Some people are better at one than the other. I actually, it's funny that you bring that up. I kind of got inspired to do a storytelling show too, and I haven't. I have the story that I want to tell. It's actually two stories in one, but I've kind of outlined it already, and I'm trying to add, the different beats in terms of, of course, telling a story, you want to have, some fun parts in it as well. So I'm working on that, and there was someone that was supposed to be working with me on it, but they haven't been available. So I've I've been procrastinating because that person wasn't available about doing the writing for that, which is a situation where it's like I could just do the writing for
Just
it.
do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I was kind of counting on it because that person was on a storytelling show.
That's happened to
and
me
I
so
and
many
I
times.
loved the story that person told, and I was like, oh, like I would like the feedback for this story that I'm writing, and I think this person would be the perfect person to be able to help me with it. And like I said, that person hasn't been available.
Yeah, they're just too busy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I can still write it myself, and I can still get it to a point where I feel comfortable with it. And then
Practice it. That's
Yeah.
what you got to do.
and that's something that I'm working on as well.
And then as you're working on it, later on, that person will have time and you'll have something more fleshed out.
Yeah.
So you can actually be more specific of like what you want to work on or what you're trying to do with that. Because like when I first started out, I was a one-liner comic. And then after that, I went into bits. And then after that, I went to storytelling. And now I'm trying to get my comedy to become like a mix of all three.
Yeah.
It's a whole hierarching story, but in between I'll have moments where like I'll tell like one-liners, or I'll have moments where like I'll have a bit and I'll just go off of that. Or if I see the crowd or something happens, or if I feel like crowd working, I'll just start talking to people. Or if something just comes to my mind like a joke or whatever, I'll just throw it out. And I'll be comfortable and sure of myself to the point where if the new stuff bombs or whatever, I can always just bring it back. I'll just keep bringing it back just to make it seem like we're just having a good time, but I'm still working on this stuff that I wrote,
Yeah. No, I mean, again, that's I guess I feel a little overwhelmed from the possibilities sometimes when I think about it, because it's like, because I haven't started necessarily yet.
Howard,
I could do
just do it.
I know.
Just do
I
it.
know,
Don't think
I
about it.
know.
No. Like there's gonna be a night in the next like week or two where you're gonna get a chance. Like you're gonna have a chance to go up. Just do it. Don't think about it. Just whatever happens, but just have fun. That's it. That's all you got to do. Just have as much fun as you can, because at the end of the day, that's the job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, so the night that I was like, yes, nothing's going to get in my way, the most recent situation, nothing's going to get in my way. I'm going up tonight. Randomly. So randomly. My ex sent me the message that she got rid of a bunch of my stuff. Like, completely, like, I hadn't messaged her for a while.
Damn.
So it was just completely unprovoked. And she sent me that message, and I'm like, why today would you tell me this? First off, like, why now? And then, it's like, there's no way I'm going to be able to focus on that, because it was literally hours before, like, the open mic that I was going to go to started at 8. She sent me that message at 5:30. And I was like, nope. And I didn't go at all. Oh, no, I actually did go. I went there. I was like, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this. But then my mind kept like messing with me the whole time. I was like, yeah, no, I can't
Look,
focus right now.
I'm gonna tell you something like that would affect me too. I'm not gonna lie, but there have been other things that have happened in my life where it's affected me like really bad, and I still force myself to go up. You know, and it's just one of those things where I'm just like, this is my life. This is what I gotta do. This is my job. You know,
Yeah.
and like I have to do this no matter what, even if what's happening in my personal life is really bad. I
Yeah.
still have to like dissociate from it, get on stage, do my time, have fun, and then once I get off stage, get back to whatever the fuck is going on.
Yeah. Like even if you can't find a ring light tripod, you gotta record the podcast.
You gotta do it no matter what.
The show must go on.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I understand that. And it, again, it's always easy from the outside to see a situation like that and be like, oh yeah, man, you could just go ahead or whatever. But it's like when it's your turn to be like, oh, you could just go ahead. It's harder for you to hear that, feel that, accept it, and keep moving. Like,
Yeah, but from our time talking today, I feel like that's been something that's been going on in your life a lot. Is like you're working towards something, then something affects you really bad, and you're just like, well, I don't even want to do that anymore.
yeah. Well, I mean, a big part of the reason why, we're even here right now is because I understand those things, and I understand that I want to move forward. There are things that I want to do. And, this is kind of a way of holding myself accountable. I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago with Bob Morrison.
Bob Morrissey, shout out the Healing Club, right?
Yeah. And, I talked about some of the things that he talked about here and talked about.
Oh, you're reusing material on my
No,
show?
no. This is a completely different conversation. Like, if you go back and listen to it, like, yeah, there are some things that I talked about, but there are things that I talked about with you that I didn't talk about with him. But it's a situation where I know that I can be an engaging person. I know that I'm not a shy person.
No, you're very intelligent, very sociable.
Yeah, so it's something where I know that I can bring that out on stage once I fight through this blockage that I'm currently going through in terms of having the anxiety to get on stage.
This is good because I have been through a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, not the same exact thing, but I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, and it sometimes when I first started comedy, it did affect me a lot. It did affect me from going up, from going to a certain mic or whatever. But like, it's just one of those things. Is like, how bad do you want this?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason. Like I said, having these conversations, getting myself booked on a roast battle show, like I want it. I want to do it.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's holding me back from doing it is me. There's no barrier. Yeah. Like most of the people that run open mics around town, I know and I get along with. So it's not like I don't have the opportunity to do those mics. Like you're a co-host of a mic that I could have been doing every time, or at least signing up to try to do every
Sunday
time.
mic at Accelerate?
Yeah, because I don't work
it's
Sundays
1 minute,
typically.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what I mean, and it's.
But okay, and I will say this: it's not just you. There's a lot of other comics that I've talked to, going like, "Yeah, I don't want to. I haven't gone there that often. This, and that. Just making excuses." And I'm just like, "It's cool. Whenever you can show up, just do it. But if not, don't even worry about it. Just keep doing you, because everything else is gonna keep running no matter what, with or without you. You know.
Yeah.
But as long as you're good, make sure that your home life, personal life, work life, everything is balanced. That is one of the hardest things we can all do as ourselves, because we're all human beings. We all go through stuff, and things happen out of nowhere, and we just have to face it right then and there, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, like my home work balance doesn't exist because it's just rubble. So there is no need to balance. Like I'm not going to balance on top of these rocks over here. It's just everything's at ground level, so everything can only go up. So
yeah,
that again, another reason why it's like you're limiting yourself and you're not allowing yourself to do a thing that you're interested in doing, but you have no
No.
real barriers.
You're doing it. You're trying to get yourself to do it, but something is just gets in your way every time.
Yeah.
And it's not because of you. It's just something outside of you. It's just like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this. And you're like, you know what? You're right. I shouldn't.
Yeah. And it's funny because, okay, so I had a conversation with a comic, and that person was like, they really gassed me up. It was like, I've heard like how you kind of mess with other comics, like when they're coming for shows, and like I kind of mess around with people, like crack jokes with some of the customers that come to the secret group, run bits here and there, just randomly, just kind of engaging in conversation, outside of let me see your ID, I got to check your bag and all that stuff. Like I try to have more fun with it than that because I mean that's monotonous and it's boring and nobody can really just I can't just do like be a robot and do it that way. So the comic was like, yeah, man. And then I saw you, playing dominoes. I've heard other things. And, I was like, you know what? You're right. But then the thing that sucked about it was that conversation was on a Thursday and it was already too late to go to a mic. And then I worked Friday and Saturday. And this is literally, Tuesday after that happened.
Well,
and I could have gone up yesterday. Well, no, actually, I couldn't have gone up yesterday because I was working.
okay, so
yeah.
I'll say this. Whenever you do have free time, just try to do at least one mic, or no, 1 to 3 mics a week just to start building up your confidence.
Yeah.
Start going out more. And then once you feel like you're ready to start developing yourself and your material more, then I have done like 3 or 4 mics a night consistently. Like that's what I try to do. At least 2 to 4. And it's made me so much better, but then there's also that whole idea of like hustle culture and like overextending yourself, overexerting yourself, and eventually you fatigue. Because I have been through some points where I've been fatigued mentally because of just going out so much and talking to people and all that.
Yeah.
Just take care of yourself. Just dip your feet in the water just to see how you like it, and just like I said, have fun, man.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the scary things about my personality, and I recognize it, and it's a great thing and a bad thing, is when I start things, I get obsessed and I push to the extreme. Like the whole situation with me overworking myself when the whole colon cancer scare. Like I was overworking myself
Yeah.
to an extreme and not paying close enough attention to my diet at the same time, which caused me to have all those symptoms combined, which could have been looked like cancer, which is like, well, you can't allow yourself to focus like that. And I try to not allow myself to get obsessive over like details because I have always had a tendency to do that.
Yeah, but you're a human being. Like
Yeah.
if the same thing
Oh,
happened
no,
to me,
no.
I would be the same way. I'd be like, oh God, I have cancer. I'm gonna die. Like
Yeah.
I would be thinking the same thing.
Yeah. But no, I mean, that's just how I've always been. And it's like, I graduated high school with honors. We're doing all that stuff. Like I was doing way too much. I was doing volunteer work. Like I said, I was in a choir at a church, football, wrestling, drama, like student council. Like I'm doing way too much for a 17-year-old at that time to
You
do.
said you're the oldest, right?
Yes.
So were you doing that because you were trying to overachieve, or you just
No,
wanted to try as
I
much as
just-
you could?
I couldn't. Okay. It was a combination of things. One, I wanted to be out of the house. Two, this is the funny thing. So while my mom was, dealing with a cancer, like me and a couple of my siblings had kind of rough relationships for a spell. The brother that I talked about earlier that was upset about not being included with some of the things, with getting my dad's stuff from New Mexico to California. Him and one of my sisters both expressed that they were frustrated because I was the favorite. And part of that was that a lot of, family members saw, like, look, he's doing this, and doing this. But I was also ditching school, also shoplifting, also facilitating getting alcohol for parties and different things, and hanging out and doing all kinds of other things that they knew about, but like my parents and uncles and aunts and grandparents weren't aware of.
They weren't privy to it.
And so to them, they're like, yeah, but he's doing this too. But they don't want to say,
They're just talking about the good stuff.
yeah. And so that's the thing. And it's,
You can't pick and choose, man.
but it's like, well, sure, I did bad things too. But it's like, but you guys aren't doing the good things that I'm doing, and you're doing bad things, and you're getting caught. I'm not getting caught. You know, like the stuff that I did, fortunately, I never got caught up with anything too crazy. And I still made time and made sure that I did all the good things too. And so, and I like one thing for my brother, like we're a year and a half apart. Like I was born in 79, he was born in 80. So it was always a situation, I went through the grade and then he gets my teacher from last year. And it's like, oh, you're Howard's brother. Oh, we expect good things from you. So it's a higher expectation put on him from the beginning. And that's so unfortunate that so many kids get put with that burden, and it makes it hard because then they can't be who they are because people already are expecting him to be as good as me or better. And so he was like, I don't want that pressure. So he kind of acted out. And I always tell him too, same thing. It's like, you're just as smart as I am. You just haven't applied yourself in the particular way that I applied myself, but you're smart in ways that I never could be. You're creative in ways that I never could be. And it's just a matter of you following your lane and doing the thing that works better for you.
Yeah, finding your strengths.
And so, we had a conversation like through all the things that happened, when my mom passed and around my mom's death, I'm still I have the best relationship with him, even though it's still kind of strained. He reaches out more than anyone else. And then my other brother, like me and both my brothers have been okay, I guess. I mean, cause it's a situation and it's like, my youngest brother came into town. He was the one that was staying with my mom at the time. And there was a bunch of, issues in terms of what was supposed to happen with keeping the lease going with him there and all kinds of issues, related to that. But, me and him, he came to town and we didn't talk about our mom. We didn't talk about the rest of the family. Mm-hmm. We only casually brought up a couple of relatives that are in town. Well, I brought it up and he was like, fuck no, I'm not going to see them. And, it is what it is.
I've had situations like that with my family. So,
but we just talked about just general things. Like we talked about, like, it's funny. I took him to, before I moved out here, I took him to a NASCAR race at Fontana Speedway, or California Speedway, which is now torn down. I think they're going to rebuild it to another raceway. But there were like a lot of different cars and stuff out there. And that's me and my other brother helped get him into cars, and our dad helped get us into cars. And then we kind of have our own separate philosophies on what we like about performance. And so we were talking about cars. We were talking about events like this upcoming March. Texas 2K is going to be in Dallas for the first time. It had been in Houston for the longest time at Houston Raceway Park, but that track is gone now. It got demolished earlier this year, so it's the event is moved to Dallas now. And he was talking about possibly going to it, talking about going to different races at Circuit of the Americas, which is in Austin, and just talking about cars and just different things, and trying to move forward with life, because it's because he's the baby too, so it's always one of those things where he was spending the most time at home last, and I've been away from home the longest. Like, like I said, I moved out here in 2002, and I'd visit, every couple of years. There was a span where I went like a few years in a row, and maybe a couple times in the same calendar year, but it wasn't like as regular as I would like. And of course, it's one of those things that, looking back, like, of course, it's like, man, if I had known that this was the only amount of time that I would have with my mom, I would have fought to find a way to get back more often. But again, hindsight is, perfect. You like, oh yeah, I would have done that. But it's one of those things for me, like, I don't allow those levels of regret to hang me up too bad, because again, you never know what's going to happen in the future. You could only work based on the information you have right now, and you can't allow yourself to be too worried about the negative things that could happen. So you just gotta release and know what's going to make you happiest right now. That isn't going to have negative consequences. Like, you can't, go raw dogging a bunch of girls and be like, oh, now I have chlamydia. How could this have happened to me? It's like, yeah, you could go have sex with a lot of people and use protection or whatever, or be more selective and not get an STD, but you chose to do it this way, and then you are facing the consequences, or having another kid, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can still have the fun, you can still go do the thing, but be cautious to a certain extent to not put yourself in a bad spot, but still enjoy the spot that you're going to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like when I was younger, there were many times where like I went to certain places or hung out with certain people, and I just made an ass of myself, or did a stupid thing like get chlamydia.
Oh no, that's one thing for me, man. Like, I have not had any STDs. I've been very careful. Like, that's one of the things for me. Like, those. Not everybody had sex ed classes or whatever, when they were younger or whatever.
I hope they didn't have sex during class. Like,
no, sex ed classes full. But
so did you have sex ed when you were growing up?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had it too, but all they had was like a TV and a VCR, and just they played them on tape.
Yeah, but no, the STD thing scared the hell out of me, and I was like, nope. That's not gonna be me. So that's knock on wood, never have, and hopefully never will.
If any ladies with chlamydia are looking for Howard tonight,
I'm not interested at all. If you have any kind of a rash, then we're gonna have to wait until that clears up. You get you some cream, put it on there, and then see me in a week and a half.
Try new experiences.
No, that's definitely not an experience that I'm seeking. But that's the thing is, and it's easy to kind of wall yourself off from risk.
Yeah, of course.
But everything is risky. Like, you see my helmet right here. I ride a motorcycle. Yeah. And Houston has the worst drivers in the United States. It's been certified. Yes. They came out with a survey and they put it out, and Houston is number one in terrible driving. And it's a situation where even if I was driving a car, there's terrible drivers out there. And, I've been in a couple of accidents in Houston, and every single one was the other driver's fault. Every single one was completely preventable, and things where it's like, what are you doing? Like, I had a Lexus get totaled because you know how the main street is going, and then you have the side streets that have stop signs, and they have to wait for the main street. Mm-hmm. So a lady decided to try to make it in front of me. It's the middle of the day, Sun is out. There's not a cloud in the sky. And I'm driving a red Lexus. It's bright red. And she tried to beat, and she said she didn't see me on a sunny day with no clouds in a red car. And so that car got totaled. But another accident I got in. I was driving downtown, one-way streets. I was in a lane going one way, and a guy decided he was going to make a left turn from the rightmost lane and
So he's
hit
like
me.
coming over. Okay.
Yeah,
Damn.
because I was to the left of him, and so he was making a left turn from the rightmost lane, and it's like, why would you even try to make this turn? Like,
'Cause they
you want to
think
go
they
down the
can.
street, you missed your opportunity. You were supposed to be in the lane that I'm in, instead of trying to come from all the way over here and cut across.
Man, Houston drivers do not give a fuck. You got here in Houston, you have to be a defensive driver all the
Yeah.
time. You have to watch out for other people. Like there are times where the lights red on the opposite side of the street, it turns red, lights green, and I just wait a couple seconds and I see zoom right in
Yeah.
front of me, and I'm just
Oh,
like,
no.
what the fuck?
That happens all the time. Like I almost got cut off on my bike the other day. So again, downtown, there was a utility crew that was in the middle lane, blocking the middle lane. They were doing some utility work under the ground, and so the road split off to the right and left. I was on the right side, and a truck went over on the left side. That truck then, as the light turned green, turned right to cross over to go on that other street. But if you wanted to go right, you could have just got behind me and then made the right turn from the correct lane instead of trying to make a right turn from the leftmost lane and then almost hitting me. But I saw him, so I was like, okay, this is an idiot. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, yeah, you are. You are sorry.
They always are.
Yeah. and it's funny because, I tell everybody, I was like, a lot of people always ask, oh, isn't it dangerous? It's dangerous. I was like, yeah, it's dangerous in the car. I told them about my 2 accidents that happened. And then I'm like, I just ride like I'm invisible. So I expect the cars around me to do dumb things. And then that way, I'm always ready for if they pull out or do anything weird. People pull out from driveways all the time without looking both ways. Literally seeing somebody holding their phone and then merging into my lane. I'm like, oh, let me either back off or speed up, whatever I need to do to get away from this person. And it's like, it is what it is.
I do that all the time. The other day I was driving down the 610, and this white car was on the left of me, and he was trying to get in, and I saw that he was trying to do this. So I was like, let me slow down. He speeds up, and there's 2 cars, like one on each lane, right? He speeds up, he gets in front of me, then he sees the 2 cars, and he's going too fast, so he's in between both of those cars, and he's just like swerving on the road, and the other 2 cars see him, and they like move away, and then he finally like stabilizes, and he just drives off, and I'm just like, this fucking idiot is gonna get himself killed.
Yeah, it's crazy out there. Like I'm surprised we don't see more accidents at that corner in front of the secret group because of that bump. Because we saw I can't remember who it was. Me and a few guys were outside at the corner, and somebody got air. Like they were going so fast enough that they got air at that bump right there.
Oh,
yeah, the car was completely off the ground.
God,
and it was like,
damn.
what were you? Like, first off, why are you speeding on those streets? Like, where are you trying to go?
Real talk.
And it was late at night. It was like midnight. What is happening at midnight that you have to be driving that fast?
There was one night, it was after we closed at Secret. When I was working at Secret, we were just outside, a group of us just talking, shooting a shit or whatever. It was like around 3 a.m. And we see a car down the street just speeding, going from the street to the freeway.
Yeah.
He's just speeding, and he's like, zzzz. Then it gets near the club, and it just like hits the curve, goes over the bump a little bit, then gets back on the street, and we were like, what the fuck? They almost hit us.
Yeah.
I was just like, what are you doing out here?
Yeah. And then the crazy thing about that is all those people on scooters. It's like
Oh,
I'm shocked.
hit them for sure. Like,
I'm shocked that more haven't been hit. There was one that was hit a couple of weeks ago, over on Hutchins, over closer to the box side.
no, but sometimes they even drive like idiots.
Oh, most of the time,
Ugh.
it's so crazy. Like I don't understand. It's funny though because like they'll be doing crazy stuff downtown because they have the rentals all over like downtown and East Downtown, and so people will be riding through downtown and like crossing over 3 lanes,
Yep.
not looking back, and it's like,
Yep.
what are you doing? Like, you didn't even look? A car could have been coming, and you just casually just in something that's not able to get out of the way.
No, the rules of the road don't apply to them apparently. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, how does that make any sense? You're driving a vehicle.
Now, the funny thing is that they'll be like riding across 3 lanes, like it'll be a group, and I'll be like, I'll casually be riding downtown, and I'll just like, oh, let me see how they react to this, and I'll just go by them, and they were like, oh shit, realizing yes. Now, if this would have been somebody in a truck, then 3 of you guys would be in the ER right now at minimum. You know what I mean? Because you guys are blocking the whole road because you guys are racing these slow ass electric scooters in the middle of the street.
Most of the people that rent those are kids, like younger people. And
No,
like, they don't.
Yes, there are a lot of them,
Yeah.
but there are unfortunately too many adults doing it too, and I see more of those. I see more of that behavior from the adults than the kids. And the only time I see it with the kids, really, they'll be with other adults, and they're all doing that. Most of the time, more kids are more cognizant of not getting run over than adults are, which is hilarious in a way, because you would think it would be the opposite.
Well, it kind of makes sense because like since there's a lot of bars around Edo for sure. Because I know there's a rental over there,
Yeah.
so of course they're gonna drink, then try to get to the next spot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a lot of drunk scootering.
A lot of
It's
drunk
like-
scootering, man.
Man, you just are setting yourself up for potential failure by not thinking logically about how you're doing this.
Drunk
But,
scootering. Yeah, I also call it sex. That.
yeah. Yeah, it's something that you should be embarrassed to do, but you do it anyways.
Yep.
It's like, people know that you're doing this, right? It's like, no, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah. You know what? I want people to see me.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I
that's why I can't get into politics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's like I don't want tapes to come out. That's the last thing. I don't like the idea of a political scandal for myself.
It's funny that it would be a funny scenario where like a tape comes out, but you recorded it yourself. It's just like you just.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get why people would want to record themselves doing.
Oh
that.
no, I understand it 100%.
No. I get why. I'm just like, why are you showing other people or posting it online?
Yeah. Again, I don't have the only issue I have with it is in terms of, like I said, if I were to ever have political aspirations, just that idea alone is enough to be like, probably not, because there's a couple tapes that might exist still. Hopefully they don't, but they might.
They don't surface. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's always like, we live in a country where everybody has sex, but nobody wants to talk about sex.
Yes.
And so
I
the idea
agree.
of, first off, of course, I don't know what the future holds. So I can never say one way or another. But again, I'm 44 years old. I'm single. After this last relationship, I don't know what relationships look like for me going forward. Because I understand for myself, one, I do have a higher chance of being more guarded with myself to not allow myself to be in the position that I just found myself in, where I ended up homeless and
Okay,
having to
cool.
start over,
I
with
thought I
life.
thought you were just about to say that you were running for office. I got scared.
Oh no, I mean, I don't see myself ever running for office. I do have a lot of like different ideas for policy and different things, but I would be more along the line of an advisor for a friend of mine who is like, he's basically built himself up to be the a perfect candidate to move up eventually, if that's what he wants to do. Career military guy, went to a service academy, has a very distinguished record, popular in our local community, and could run for the office of the person that's been the regular representative for that area. Both me and him both have worked in situations around that person. My mom did a lot of volunteer work for that person as well. So his name works in the community so he can get that representative seat. And then from there, work his career to build up to, if he would want to do that, to pursue a
Yeah.
presidency. And we've had conversations about different ideas about politics and stuff, and he likes a lot of things that I've said, and he's like, yeah, that would be an interesting thing to try to get through, but I don't know. For me, I couldn't be a politician, only because I couldn't do the thing to sugarcoat that this policy idea might make things worse for some people, because it's the 100% truth. No matter what side of the aisle that you're on, if you have a platform and you have an idea, that idea is going to work for some people, great, but it's going to also cause problems for another group of people, and nobody wants to hear that they might have struggles, even if they're only temporary, while you're getting and working out the kinks of a system that you're trying to implement. Like even the whole thing with Obamacare and all that, it's like, yeah, there are teething pains. There's different things that could have been done differently and whatnot. And some of it is, after putting it in place, seeing where it broke down and trying to address those and fix those later. But you can't just not do an idea because there's the potential negative, but you also can't say that it's a potential negative, because then nobody wants that idea.
Well, I used to work for, I interned with a political office, a Democratic office, and they were trying to get some propositions passed in an election. This was like a couple years ago. And what they were telling me to do is like to get people to sign or to vote for this prop or whatever. And the lingo or the wordage that they used, it was like, oh, this is positive, this is going to give us more money, this and that. But then I later found out that they were taking money. They took that money from like people's pensions that worked in certain government positions, like, and it just didn't make me feel good at the end, because I was just like, I thought I was going with this idea. I was like, oh, we're gonna make more money, we're gonna give it to the community, help people, but then I didn't understand where the money was gonna come from.
Yeah, and
You know?
that's the hard thing about politics, is that no matter what your policy is, there's a group of people that are going to suffer, at least temporarily, because of it, if not permanently. So, you it's so hard to kind of have that as a job, and to me, it would drive me insane.
Yeah, me too. That's why.
And so, I couldn't do it, because I wouldn't be able to not point out the negatives and be like, hey, yeah, this is a negative, but this is only a short-term negative. But nobody wants the short-term negative either.
Nobody wants.
But it's like, yeah, we have to do this negative thing first, but then in the long run, because nobody really thinks in the long run. And that's the crazy thing about it. It's like they get upset because politicians lie to them. But then when politicians tell the truth about potential struggles, then they're like, oh, we don't want to hear that, so we're not going to vote for you. So it's like, you've made it so they can only lie to you. So every politician is going to lie to you on both sides. So if you actually want the truth, you have to accept reality that some things may cause some slight discomfort for a while. So you have to
Yeah, but
accept
people
that.
don't want to hear that. They want
Yeah.
immediate gratification. They don't want to feel bad at all whatsoever or go through any hard times.
Yeah. Like it's crazy thinking about it. It's like the housing crisis, all the homelessness and all that stuff. It could be solved. It could be solved a lot easier than either
And
side will
it
make it.
was solved for you a couple years ago. So
Yeah. It's like you just need a 2013 Civic and you will not be on the street.
there you
You will
go.
have transportation and a home.
That's
It's-
what we need to do. We just need to get all these homeless people into
Yeah,
some civics.
I am an advocate for the 2013 Honda Civic sedan. I'm 6'2", 278 pounds, and I was able to lay the driver's seat down and sleep comfortably. Well, mostly comfortably every night.
You want to hear something funny? When I was homeless, I had a 2014 Civic.
Mm-hmm.
So any Civic above 2010, Honda. Let's work on something.
let's get a deal.
We get a deal done.
My motorcycle's a Honda too. I'm a brand loyal person.
I am too. I love Hondas. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. I crashed in one and I lived, so I'm driving it for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like you can find a solution, but there's somebody. Remember, I said earlier, I was like, I'm under no illusion about getting Netflix specials or anything crazy like that. But there's too many people who believe that they can reach the pinnacle of any field that they start on. And
Well, let's stick with stand up. There are some people that want these bigger things, you know, and what I was the same way when I first started. I tried to get myself into certain positions where I wasn't ready for them, and then when I bombed, I just like went into this really bad depression and just started attacking myself and stuff like that. But I've learned, not everything is for you. Not every place is for you. There's certain like shows and stuff like that, and like places that people go to that isn't gonna fit your vibe or your style. It's just get in where you fit in. The place where you feel the most comfortable, where you feel like you can strive the best, just be in that place and just keep doing that. Now, that being said, you can achieve great things,
yeah,
but not everybody achieves that. You know, not everybody has the same path. We all go through this road, and sometimes we take different turns. That person's probably still going straight, but then you make a right or they make a left or whatever. But eventually, you're all going to end up at the same place.
Yeah.
It's about the journey that it took for you to get there, the people that are around you, you know, where you went, who you interacted with, what did you do that day. Like
Yeah.
you said, live life. Just be in the moment and don't think about all the bad stuff that's happening. You will get something. You will get something. No, if you put in the work and you stay in it and you're disciplined, eventually something good will happen.
yeah.
You know, but it's not always immediate for everybody.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's part of, you know, people think I'm gonna be a millionaire eventually, so I'm gonna make laws to protect the money that I'm gonna make in the future, even though right now this other law is gonna help me right now. I'm gonna make this law for my hypothetical millionaire future.
What's your law for your hypothetical millionaire?
No, I'm
future
just
right
saying
now?
different policies that help
Well,
rich
like,
people.
you're gonna be a millionaire in the future. What's a law you would want to make?
Like, I mean, people make different things in terms of like the different inheritance taxes and different things where they're trying to protect money for future generations, which is understandable. And I get the ideas in terms of like taxing income that was already taxed because it's being inherited. But at the same time, it's like, sure, but there's reasons why there's families that have generational wealth and they have kept that wealth because they're not investing it in the community. Like the idea of trickle down economics, the fact that people still are holding on to that is so crazy to me because it's pretty clear. Like everything that happened during the pandemic should be proof of the opposite of that, because the
Right.
economy flourished when normal people got money, and people who were having struggling business and small businesses. Some of them were being a little fraudulent, but they got those PPP loans and they spent money. So when you give poor people money, they put it right back into the economy and the economy booms.
Yeah,
if you give
because-
rich people money, they
Yes.
invest the money, they shelter the money,
They hold
try
on
to
to it.
hold and
Yeah.
hoard onto it in
Yes.
case that there's another crisis.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's so clear, it doesn't even take much thought. You look and you can see it clearly. The fact that, like,
Along with a 2013 Honda Civic, we'll also give you $10,000.
yeah. And so that's the thing. It's like when you see how that happened, but then you still create policies because rich people donate to political campaigns. Poor people don't. That's just unfortunately the fact.
Yeah.
Because they want to make the laws to protect them and help the bigger business. And most lower income people don't have the disposable income to donate where they feel comfortable that their money is going to contribute enough.
Well,
to
they'll
sway.
lobby. They'll
Yeah.
lobby for the laws that benefits them.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, but technically, if you really think about it, there's more middle class and poor people than rich people. And if that money was pooled towards the campaign of people who are truly representing the middle and lower class, then that would generate way more income than the small amount of rich people. But it's like, if a million people donate $1 and one person donates $1 million, you know, that one person's impact is greater, even though it's the same amount of money for opposing ideas. You know what I mean? And people look at it like that, and so they're like, well, why am I going to give $1? Because that one person can for sure
He's got it covered.
yeah, he can for sure give $1 million. So why am I giving my dollar to oppose what he can give? He can give away that amount. I can only give away $1, and that's why we're stuck in this kind of pit of despair in our political process.
Yeah, but that dollar will affect me more than that other person.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's the thing. It's like that I understand it, but there's no way to kind of reach and have more people understand that and agree and be like, you know what, this is for the betterment of society. So let me donate the little bit that I can, and then this amount, even though it's small, so many more people are doing this that we can get people who actually represent the people into office and get them to do the policies that are going to help us. It's a noble concept, but in actually trying to do it, it's too hard. At least right now.
It is hard, especially like, well, we'll take that example with the one person donating $1 million versus a group of people donating a small amount of money to save up to $1 million, right? This one person can just lobby and tell that person, hey, can you help me with this, and that? And it'll be easier. Now, say you have that group of people. It's a democracy. We live in a democracy. So they all have to agree on like what laws and what certain things we have to do just to give that person the money. And that's an even bigger process in and of itself, you know, just to have everybody in unison agreeing with a certain thing. It's tough.
Yeah. And I do think that there are different ways that we can reform the political process to try to get that better, but
we're not going to save it on this podcast.
Yeah, definitely not. Vote for Howard 2028.
Check out his sex tape too.
Yeah. You know what? That actually can, if I put a sex tape on OnlyFans, that could generate the income to fund my campaign.
There you go.
Kim
Kardashian
modern
and
solutions.
Shit. Yes.
So
modern solutions.
Yeah.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Exactly. And give the people what they want. Like, think about that. Like right now, okay, so Monica Lewinsky saw a president's dick.
I think she did more than just see it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, there's lots of people who would want to see a president's dick. So give them no. I'm just saying.
I don't think a lot. So you want to see Joe Biden's dick right now? Is that
I'm
what
not talking about that. I'm not saying that I want to, but okay, like
the way you worded that though.
If Obama put out, if there was a sex tape of Obama, there's a lot of women that would want to see that tape.
They would want to see Obama's dick. Yeah, you're right.
So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why not? So this is the thing. Okay, I got to get in shape. I got to get back in shape, right? So this is the first step for my political campaign. I got to get back in shape. So I gotta find Jesse's doctor to get his steroids, and then after I do that, then I can start my campaign, and I'll make a series of tapes, and I'll put them on OnlyFans, and then that'll be the campaign contribution, and then that's how I run my campaign.
That makes a lot of sense. Funds, okay. Yeah,
because then I'm being funded by the people, right? And then it's like I want to understand his ideas. Like I can recite like different policies while I'm having sex, like. Different positions, like different positions of the cabinet. So yeah, I'm really thinking this could work.
No, I could just imagine it like mid-stroke, like just talking about like, yeah, the American people need more money, like just.
Okay, so nah, picture this for real. So fake taxi, right?
Fake taxes, yeah.
Don't act dumb. Don't act dumb. You know what fake taxi is.
I know what
y'all know what fake taxi is.
Why are you getting so defensive right now, Doug? We all know.
We'll do the fake taxi, right? And then like we'll simulate like going over a rough road, and it's like, see, these rough roads are making it hard for me. It's interrupting my concentration in this moment. With my plan, we'll have smoother roads throughout America to make sure that you can have just as much fun anytime.
I could already see like a video of you like having sex on the bumpy roads, and then afterwards on the clean roads.
Yeah,
just seeing that.
Yeah, seeing the difference. See, it's like see this road doesn't interrupt the stroke. See, you're understanding my vision now.
I'm gonna donate. I'm gonna donate to your cause.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah. What's it? 2028.
Yeah, 2028. Because it's too late for 2024. We're already upon it, and I won't be able to get enough signatures and the money together to fund an independent campaign, let alone a Democratic campaign or a Republican campaign. It might be I might follow in the footsteps of Trump. Nah, libertarians are fake. They're not real people. They're Republicans that want to pretend that they're not.
Yeah.
They want to distance themselves from the mainstream Republicans, but 99.9% of their policies are exactly the same. And it's hilarious that they try to act like, oh no, we're way different from them.
Yeah.
We're way different from them, but
we're the cool ones.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been really fun, Howard. Thank you for coming through.
Oh, no problem.
You got to end off the podcast. Is there anything you want to promote or?
Not at the moment. Well, like I said, January 12th at the Riot, You Look Like roast battle. I'll be going up against Matt Jolly Rogers. Also, check out the Healing Club podcast. I'm on an episode. What did Bob name it? Young Frankenstein. It's called.
That's a
and
great
we talk about some of the different things that I've gone through over the last couple of years, as well as like me trying to have a positive outlook on life and trying to build for the future. And then I did recommend a song on that, and I made a mistake. I said Raekwon instead of Ghostface Killah, and that's kind of my bad. Like I should have known better.
Oh, you're doing the edit here on this podcast?
Yeah,
so they have to watch this.
Yeah, you have to go back. You have to listen to that podcast, and I've saved Raekwon, but it's Ghostface Killah, and the song is Claudine. It's a great song.
Claudine, Ghostface Killah? Okay.
Yeah, it's Method Man and Ghostface Killah.
Okay, but
it's a great song. Check it out.
And you guys know where to catch me on IG, TikTok, X.com, The Jocosity. Come the Punchline Sundays, Mondays, and Fridays. It's every Sunday, Monday, and first Friday of the month. And then starting January, I am running a show and an open mic at Equal Parts Brewery. The show is called The Bird Call. That'll be every second Friday of the month. The first show is January 12th, 8 p.m. And the open mic will be every first and third Wednesday. And Michael Vargas and I will be running that. And for the show, Birdie, he's been on the podcast. He and I will be running the show. Once again, thank you, Howard. Thanks for coming through. I really enjoyed this. This was a great talk.
All right.
And,
yeah. We'll do it again in the future after I've done my first few open mics, after I've done the roast battle. So yeah, January 12th.
I like that. So well, when you come back, because you came at it from like a brand new open micer standpoint. From then on, when we talk, we have that next conversation. I would love to have you back, and we'll just talk your perspective of how you went through your process.
Yeah. So January 12th, go to the Bird Call first. And then after that show is over, go over to the Riot and watch You Look Like.
What time? 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
you could do both.
8 o'clock, Equal Parts,
Yep.
The Bird Call, and then at 11 o'clock, go to the Riot for the You Look Like roast battle.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see y'all next time. Have a good night.
Peace.